The movie unravels a gripping mystery where science and emotion collide. A murder investigation turns into an intense showdown between a brilliant mathematics professor and a sharp science student. It all begins on the shores of Tokyo, where a ship suddenly explodes and sinks without warning. A school director loses his life in the blast, but when the Coast Guard investigates, they find no trace of a bomb or collision, just silence and confusion. As suspicion deepens, the case reaches the police, who believe it's no accident. The director had been receiving death threats, and now the puzzle isn't just why, but how. That's when Yukawa, a young genius in physics, enters the story. Called in by the police, he listens carefully and then stuns them with a live experiment. He uses metal balls to demonstrate the transfer of energy, then adds a magnet to show how that energy can be amplified. Finally, he reveals something mind-blowing. A super powerful magnet like the ones used in MRI machines could turn a tiny ball into a rocket, capable of sinking a ship from shore, leaving no trace behind. Detective Kusumi is amazed. Yukawa points them toward a company near the beach that manufactures such MRI machines, where complaints about electromagnetic fields had been piling up, even involving the late director. It becomes clear that Yukawa's razor-sharp mind often helps crack science-heavy cases. But then Kusumi gently reminds him, "You can explain the physics of a crime, but when the motive is love or pain, you won't find the answers in equations." Yukawa gently replies, "If love and emotions had an equation, I'd have solved that too." With that, the story shifts to Professor Ishan, a young mathematical prodigy, brilliant yet painfully alone. He teaches at a school, but his life is empty. No family, no friends, no reason to wake up beyond routine. His only connection to the world is through the walls of his apartment, where he quietly listens to the voices of his neighbor, Hana, and her daughter, Mitsu. Hana, a single mother running a small tiffin shop, faces her own battles. Her ex-husband Tony, just out of jail, keeps showing up, demanding money and stirring chaos. Ishan, who picks up lunch from her shop daily, has silently fallen in love with her, his affection growing with every shared glance and overheard conversation. One morning, Hana is preparing breakfast for Mitsu when Tony barges in. She tries to keep him away. She's been hiding from him for good reason. He doesn't want to be a father. He wants Mitsu to grow up and dance in a nightclub so he can exploit her for money. When Mitsu arrives and sees him, she's horrified. The argument turns violent. Tony lashes out, hitting Mitsu. Hana tries to stop him, and in a moment of terror, grabs a heater wire around his neck. Mitsu joins in, trying to push him away. Within seconds, Tony stops breathing. They've killed him. Shocked and trembling, Hana stares at her blood-stained hands. When the doorbell rings, it's Ishan. He calmly says, "I know what happened. Let me help you," and she lets him in. The next day, a disfigured body is found by the police, face smashed with a stone to hide the identity. Chief Inspector Kasana and Detective Kusumi arrive at the scene, unaware of the storm quietly unfolding behind the walls of a quiet neighborhood. To cover up the murder, Tony's fingers and toes had been burned, erasing any trace of his identity. At the crime scene, police found a stolen bicycle, charred clothes, and a hotel room key. Tracing the key to a nearby hotel, they discovered an ID card confirming the body belonged to Tony, a shady broker. The autopsy revealed he was killed by strangulation with a wire, likely from a heater, sometime between 6:00 and 10:00 p.m. on December 2nd. His fingerprints and hair matched samples found in the hotel room. Detective Kusumi informs Inspector Kasana that Tony had once been married to a club dancer named Hana. They divorced 2 years ago, but had an 11-year-old daughter together. Since the split, Hana had been quietly running a tiffin business on her own. The detectives head straight to Hana's home. Calm and composed, she puts on a brave face, pretending everything is normal. When asked if Tony had recently visited her, since he'd reportedly gotten her address from the club, Hana lies and says no. Asked about her whereabouts on December 2nd, she claims she and Mitsu went to a movie and then to a karaoke club. But Kasana is suspicious, who plans midweek outings when Hana has a demanding food business. As the officers leave, they bump into Ishan. He'd timed it intentionally, wanting to be questioned too, to make the story feel more believable. Kusumi casually asks if he heard anything unusual that night. Ishan shakes his head and feigns surprise. No, why? What happened? Later that night, from a public phone, Ishan calls Hana. "Just like we thought, the police came. Where did you hide the movie tickets?" Hana tells Ishan the movie tickets are in the drawer. He quickly advises her, "No one keeps movie tickets in a drawer after watching a film. Put them in a movie magazine so it looks natural." Luckily, the police hadn't asked for them yet. Ishan reassures her, "If we stick to logic, they can't touch us. Just stay calm and convince yourself you did nothing wrong." Meanwhile, Inspector Kasana decides to seek help from Yukawa. While explaining the case, he admits, "I suspect Hana. There's no one else." Yukawa's assistant, Bushi, listens too. Kasana explains that Hana claimed to be at the movies with her daughter, and they found the tickets inside a magazine. Bushi jumps in. "Then she's innocent. You can't be in two places at once." But Yukawa isn't convinced. "That's true logically, but evidence can be faked. Maybe she kept those tickets as a cover." Meanwhile, Yukawa texts Kusumi to meet him at the crime scene. There, Kusumi explains the police theory. Fingerprints on the bike confirm it, but Yukawa isn't buying it. Why would the killer go to such lengths to burn the body and hide fingerprints but leave prints on the bike? He questions. It feels staged, like someone wanted us to think Tony died here. Later, Yukawa visits Ishan again, asking to buy lunch from his neighbor, Hana's shop. Ishan grows suspicious. When Hana sees both men at her store, she's startled. Yukawa even orders the same lunch Ishan usually gets. Then a friendly man walks in and chats warmly with Hana, and Ishan can't hide his jealousy. Yukawa picks up on it. He starts suspecting that Ishan's feelings for Hana run deep. From a distance, Kusumi watches them all closely. Curious, Yukawa asks Ishan, "What's harder, solving impossible math problems or creating them?" Ishan responds, "Creating ones no one can solve." The answer lingers in Yukawa's mind. That night, Ishan calls Hana, warning her to stay away from Yukawa. "He's too clever," he says. Then, clearly unsettled, he asks about the man at the shop. Hana casually explains he's an old friend. Ishan brushes it off but quickly turns to strategy. He tells Mitsu that if the police visit school, she should say she ran into a friend at the movie theater, someone who can back up her alibi. Meanwhile, Kusumi discusses the case with her friend Sally, who remarks, "Some guys probably buy Hana's lunch just to see her. Men will pay daily just to admire a beautiful woman. It's like a drug." That sparks something in Kusumi. She calls Yukawa and says, "Ishan might be in love with Hana. Maybe that's why he visits her shop daily, and we haven't even questioned him about December 2nd yet." Yukawa is shaken. So Hana committed the murder, and Ishan cleaned up the mess? But then he hesitates. No, if Ishan was involved, he wouldn't have dumped the body so carelessly, burning the fingers, smashing the face. That's sloppy. A man like Ishan doesn't make mistakes. He's a genius. And geniuses don't leave loose ends. When Hana jokes that she's good at math, not murder, Yukawa replies with a smirk, "Honestly, murder seems simpler than mathematics." His dry wit lands perfectly. Just then, Kasana calls Kusumi with a big update. Mitsu's classmate confirmed that Hana and her daughter were at the movie theater during the murder. It sounds like a solid alibi, but instead of clearing doubts, it deepens Yukawa's suspicions. That night, Hana's friend Satoshi drops her home. Ishan watches from a distance, burning with quiet jealousy. Hana notices him too. Meanwhile, new intel reaches the police. Tony was drowning in debt, hunted by loan sharks, and even on a crime syndicate's hit list. Could this be a mob hit? Kusumi isn't convinced. Her instincts still whisper Hana's name. The next day, Kusumi and Kasana visit Ishan to question him. He's deep into designing a test. "I craft questions that seem like simple geometry," he explains, "but I frame them to mislead. The real challenge is how it's presented." Kasana cuts to the point. "Where were you on the night of the 2nd? You were absent on both the 2nd and 3rd, something you've never done before." Ishan claims he was home, unwell, and working on research. Later that evening, Ishan follows Hana, only to see her entering a hotel with Satoshi. His heart sinks. Maybe everything he's felt for Hana was one-sided. Maybe she was never his to begin with. That same night, Yukawa, Kasana, and Kusumi are out for dinner, going over the case. Yukawa casually says, "I don't see Ishan as competition. Math and physics aren't rivals. Math happens in the mind. Physics deals with the real world." Kusumi recalls Ishan saying something similar about his exam questions. Deceptively simple problems, twisted by their presentation. Yukawa freezes at this. He digs into Ishan's attendance and confirms it. Ishan was absent on both critical days. Alarm bells go off. Yukawa calls Ishan, asking to meet. Ishan invites him for a weekend mountain trek. As the two hike up the mountain, night falls. Sitting by the fire, Ishan suddenly says, almost like a confession, "This might be my last day." After the police leave, Hana opens a brown envelope from her mailbox. Inside is a letter from Ishan. It's personal. He writes, Satoshi is a good man. Marry him. You'll be happy together. Then he confesses something deeper. He once told her she was repaying a debt, but the truth was, he had planned to end his life, crushed by loneliness, until the doorbell rang. It was Hana and little Mitsu moving in next door. That moment, he says, saved him. Meanwhile, Yukawa confronts Ishan during their hike, urging him to come clean. My theory says you're involved in Tony's murder, he says. Ishan retorts coldly, this isn't physics, it's a murder case. Theories mean nothing without evidence. The next day, during a mountain climb, Ishan deliberately takes Yukawa on a dangerous path. For a moment, Yukawa fears Ishan might push him, but instead, Ishan helps him up, saying, there's something special about reaching the top the hard way. Your logic won't solve this puzzle. Back in town, Satoshi shows Hana a threatening letter he found in his mailbox. It says, stay away from Hana. You can't make her happy, and includes a photo taken from a high angle, clearly from Ishan's house. Hana realizes he's been watching her. That night, Mitsu innocently tells her, I think Ishan uncle loves you. That's why he helped us. Hana, disturbed, snaps, I don't want another Tony in your life. Later, Ishan calls Hana. She hesitates, thinking he'll try to interfere in her relationship with Satoshi, but Mitsu answers instead. Ishan calmly tells Hana he's left 2 letters in her mailbox. Read the brown one, destroy it, and follow the instructions in the white one. After this, I won't call again. His tone is final. Hana is left shaken. The next day, in a shocking twist, Ishan surrenders to the police. He confesses to Tony's murder. Kusumi, Kasana, and Yukawa are stunned, especially Yukawa, who had known Ishan since childhood and never imagined this. At the station, Ishan details everything. On December 2nd, he saw Tony outside Hana's place. Sensing danger from him, he lied, saying Hana had moved, then gave him a fake address. Later, he lured Tony to the empty ground, strangled him with a wire, disfigured his face, and burned his fingers and clothes to erase evidence. At his home, the police find both the murder weapon and the hidden microphone he used to listen in on Hana's conversations. When Hana hears of Ishan's arrest, guilt washes over her. She hands Kasana the letter Ishan left, proof he had been silently protecting her. Alone, Hana opens the brown envelope. Ishan's final words echo, Satoshi is a good man. Be with him. The day you moved in with Mitsu, you unknowingly saved my life.